Boom! Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome to my review for Dream Match Tennis, developed by Bimbusoft and released on July 10th for the PlayStation VR, for an estimated price of $15, depending on your region. The experience of holding a racket and hitting a ball, so difficult to capture on a TV screen in the past, has been fully realized in VR. The movement, rotation, angle, friction, and bounce of the racket and ball are fully simulated in Dream Match Tennis. This is a momentous occasion for PSVR headsets, as this is the first game to support the Nav Controller that originally accompanied the Move controllers back on the PS3. Many have wondered why Sony didn't use these, but here and now you can use one, if you can find one. Stay with me as I will put Dream Match Tennis and the navigation controller through its paces. As always, guys, if you like this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more PSVR content from me, you know the deal. Please consider subscribing. And for updates, hit that bell icon. As always, graphics are up first. Dream Match Tennis, like 2MD Football and Football Nation VR before it, has a realistic appearance, but is held back by a lack of polished presentation. First thing you will notice when jumping into the main menu is the startling lack of attention to making the menus feel professional and slick. Colors and menu systems are as basic as it gets, and the overall presentation right off the hop is that of an extremely indie game from like 10 years ago. Once you get into the game, things do get better, but the lack of effort and presentation flair is still very obvious. Courts, even with a few non-moving audience attendees, feel lifeless, and the cardboard court officials don't do anything to liven this up either. Overall, the graphics are decent and come off as clean and authentic in all the various court surfaces. Special note to the tennis racket and ball in your hand, as they look incredible even up close. Shadows and lighting aren't fantastic, and the court does lose some texture detail as you move about 15 feet away from your view, but between your frantic movement and the well-rendered skies, you likely won't care too much. As you have likely noticed, you have no body in the game, and either do your competitors. This is likely done to avoid some ugly animations, but it still would have been awesome to have seen real-life characters so you could anticipate their movements. All in all, graphics are pretty bare bones, but what here is decent. You won't find any weather or day and night settings, no optional camera positions, and no pro support. So while the graphics aren't bad here, and they do in fact make you feel like you're playing actual tennis, they aren't anything special either. And that brings us to sound. Dream Match Tennis does an admirable job in the sound department. All the prerequisite sound effects you would expect to hear in a tennis game are present. Bouncing balls, tennis racket impacts, and linesmen yelling "fault" all sound fantastic and really sell the experience. Crowd cheers are actually a little on the subdued side and come off a lot more like a golf crowd, but they definitely don't hurt the experience. Music is used at a minimum and really only makes an appearance in the opening menu. Another much appreciated feature is in the sound controls in the menu. Here you are able to adjust all sound levels to your liking, a feature I think should be standard in all games. Really, the only complaints I have with the sound is the overly robotic announcer voice that gives the score, and the lack of character sounds on court. This could be a blessing in disguise, but you won't hear any of the expected grunts or sounds of frustration from any of your opponents, and while some may not care, it still hurts the overall immersion. And that brings us to gameplay. Well, here is what will make or break a tennis game. There's a lot to love and a lot to be desired, so let's dive in. Fortunately, Dream Match Tennis absolutely nails the feeling of playing tennis. Whether you're an experienced tennis player or a tennis virgin, the physics are awesome and there are plenty of control and comfort options to satisfy any player. The game starts you off with some auto teleportation and basic shot assist. This is probably a good place to start, as this will keep the difficulty down and motion sickness to a minimum. I actually kept the minimal shot assist on because, like Dirt Rally, these assists were the only thing keeping me in the game, but more on difficulty later. Anyways, if you get good or are good, these assists can be turned off. On, they simply help you to clear shots over the net, but it does it brilliantly where I still felt in complete control and could still screw up my shots. I just didn't totally suck, and that felt awesome. As for control options, you can choose between manual teleport, auto teleport, where the computer puts you where you need to be for the next shot. You also have my preferred choice, auto movement and manual movement. Both of these have 2 speeds, and as you would imagine, auto puts you where you need to be, and manual, it's all you, baby. Personally, I found teleportation very jarring, and its quick jumps feeling more like frame drops. And auto movement, while drastically improving my game, felt actually too cheap, as I could tell my opponent's play return shot based on where the auto run steered me. Regardless, there's options for all preferences, and I applaud that. Now let's talk controllers. You can play this with either one move controller and a Nav controller, or one move controller combined with a DS4 controller. Basically, it has you using the left analog stick on the DS4 to control movement. This works just fine, and I'm surprised more devs have not adopted this as a movement option. But the real star here is the Nav controller. Out of production for years and a relic of the PS3 days, I managed to find a Nav controller at my local EB Games. GameStop for you Americans. For $4. Let me tell you guys, this is what we all wanted from Sony, and I cannot believe this hasn't been used before. The DS4 controller works just fine, but it's bulky and it's lopsided in this capacity, and easily bested by the small and light Nav controller. In practical use, the Nav or DS4 controller is used for menu navigation and most importantly, running around on the court. The Move controller is your racket, and well, you play tennis just as you would expect in real life. Serving, backhands, lobs, and smashes all feel great and work as you would expect. You can even put a spin on your ball for the more advanced player. Please keep in mind, you will need to play this standing, and a lot of room is required. I have not hit nearly as much stuff in my living room as I did playing this game, and I have 10 feet back and almost 15 feet wide. So be careful of your surroundings when getting absorbed by the game. Unfortunately, where the game falters is in the controller tracking. When it works great, and shots go off without a hitch, but when it works. I was continually being told my controllers were not being detected, even when they were, and all too often my racket would go way out and require a combination of turning on and off the device, holding the reset button on the tracking, and even doing the in-game calibration setting. I had to do this combination almost every 10 minutes, so yeah, it's kind of broken right now. But when it works, it really works. So let's hope for a patch as soon as possible. Another huge miss for Dream Match Tennis is its lack of multiplayer. The devs tout a very intelligent AI that plays and fails like a real player. Yes, the AI in this is actually awesome and plays incredibly well and very realistic. In fact, they're hard as hell, even on normal difficulty when they get on a hot streak. But that is no substitute for playing against a real player, as Spark has shown us so brilliantly. This could give Spark fans something to mix it up with, so let's hope multiplayer gets patched in very soon. Another sore spot is that of content or lack thereof. You have 5 surface types, a handful of competitor styles, an exhibition mode, an 8-player tournament, and lastly a training court. Unfortunately, you won't find any licensed players or venues and no clothing or equipment selection. This is bare bones tennis, but it's good tennis when it works. And that brings us to fun factor and my final verdict. This is a decent looking and sounding game with some bare bones presentation and content. It's a really good tennis game and a lot of fun when you're not fighting the poor tracking controls. So what does this leave us with? As you know, I rate games on a scale of buy, wait for a sale, or burn it to the ground. This is actually a wait for a patch, as this game is worth the asking price even with the bare bones content, especially if you're a tennis fan. But not until they patch the tracking. So keep your eyes and ears open for an incoming patch, and until then, keep your money. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you like this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more PSVR content from me, you know the deal. Please consider subscribing, and for updates, hit that bell icon. I will catch you guys in my next video.